Good evening. This is Tuesday, October 26, 2021 meeting of the Town of Berlin Planning Board. As a preliminary matter, please note this meeting is being recorded and that some of the attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that folks may be able to see you. The ugly band t-shirt you decided to wear tonight or anything you intend to or not screen share with your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured and recorded forever and ever and ever and will possibly wind up as a TikTok video that will be shared amongst your friends and neighbors and laughed at. This is Tom Sanford, Chair of the Planning Board. Permit me to confirm that all members of the Planning Board are present and can hear me prior to me calling the meeting to order. Planning Board members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Jay Teach.
Here.
Timothy Wheeler. Not here. Carolyn McDonald.
Here.
And Tom Sanford here.
Tim Wheeler here.
Yes, I heard you. With a quorum of the board present, I call this meeting to order at 7:41 p.m. Tuesday, October 26th, 2021. This is an open meeting of the Planning Board being conducted remotely consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts due to the outbreak of Corona-19 virus. It's actually COVID-19 virus. Specific information and general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public can be found on the Town of Berlin website. The governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location and allows and encourages us to participate remotely. For this meeting, the Planning Board is convening using the Zoom platform as posted on the agenda, which includes links for the public to join this meeting. Meeting ground rules. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After their concluding remarks, I will invite each board member by name to provide any comments, questions, penetrating insights, and/or motions. Please hold all your insights until your name is called. Board members and speakers on the agenda, please remember to mute your telephone or computer when you're not speaking. Please speak clearly to ensure accurate minutes are recorded. For any response, please wait until you're yielded the floor and state your name before speaking. If board members wish to engage in conversation with each other, please do so through me to avoid multiple conversations at the same time. Lastly, please note that each vote in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. Thank you all for your understanding and cooperation. So we had a couple of pieces of mail, but they were mostly from other towns advertising their meetings that they're going to have. So there wasn't really anything that was earth-shattering for us. We didn't have any bills to pay. So at this point, I will entertain a motion for accepting the minutes from our last meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none,
They were
I'll ask
wonderful.
you to,
They were wonderful.
Hearing none, I will ask you to vote to accept the minutes of the meeting. Jay Teach.
Aye.
Timothy Wheeler.
Aye.
Carolyn McDonald.
Aye.
And Tom Sanford, aye. Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. We have a few seconds before our first topic it's a light agenda tonight. There may be some people that want to talk to us. We got a couple of emails that came in today requesting to talk to us, and that's fine. Because we do have some time, and we'll take that up when we get to it. The one item that we have, we can actually take it up now. The capital planning application. I had forwarded you that Excel spreadsheet. Tim, did you have a chance to see it? I think it's pretty. I filled out as much as I could. The only thing that I was unsure of, I think the last fiscal year we got money was not last year, but the year before. Is that accurate?
I think that's right.
Okay, that's what I thought. So that would have been for 2020, fiscal year 2020.
Yep,
Yes.
$5,000. Is that right?
that's my sense. Yep.
That's what I had remembered. I just wanted to double check because that's one of the things I was unclear of. Other than that, even though the amount is less than the $10,000 threshold, they've asked us to do this because this is going to be an ongoing thing for the planning board.
Yeah.
So I said, I would do that. The other thing that we don't really have is any proposals or anything else from vendors yet. So I don't have supporting documentation like that to provide to them, but it's just ongoing updates of the master planning. So I mean, it should be fairly straightforward and fairly easy to understand.
Yeah, and given the fact that master plans are costing 60 and 70 and 80 and
I know.
$90,000 now, for us to do it on $5,000, not every year, is a bargain. So I think the town should be satisfied.
I agree. All right, so if we don't have, I didn't share it with everybody. I'm sorry, I could have, but I didn't. Basically, it's just an Excel spreadsheet that gets filled out with pre-filled stuff, and you just have to kind of justify what you want it for. So if we're all set with that, should we take a vote on this?
I move that we request as a capital expense in the capital expense budget, $5,000 for updating the master plan at the annual town meeting in May of 22.
2022, yep.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I will ask you to vote. Jay Teach,
Aye.
Timothy Wheeler,
Aye.
Carolyn McDonald,
Aye.
and Tom Sanford, aye. It carries by unanimous vote. So I'll put that together and forward it on to our friends at Capital Planning, and hopefully they'll go through and we'll have no issues. The deadline's Monday. All right, cool. Thank you.
We got 3 mail items, by the way.
Okay, can you share them with us?
Yeah, I think so. Okay, going back to the 19th of October, I got an A&R request on Gates Pond Road from Seth Liston with copies of the plan in Form A. It's that same area where we approved a division of a lot on the backside of where the exit ramp off 495 is, beginning of Gates Pond Road.
What, does it give an address number?
It says it's a lot line adjustment only, not creating any additional building lots. And let's see if there's a address.
There was no plans in the mailbox.
Well,
Yeah, I would argue that
I got one.
a plan isn't submitted until it's delivered in hard copy.
Oh, is that
Electronic.
right?
I was trying to make sure, what have we said at the back of them? We've got something in the back, don't we, saying it has to be submitted electronically.
Yes.
Berlin Planning Board has incorporated new filing requirements for any plans submitted to the board for approval. The following text explains electronic submission requirements for subdivision, A&R, or as-built plans the applicant shall submit on CD-ROM or DVD or media specified by the planning board, a standard digital file, and all other requirements, including documentation, is referenced and in accordance with level 3 of the current version of the Office of Geographic and Environmental Information Standard for digital submittals publication. Standard digital file template can be downloaded.
Tom, Eloise has her hand up.
Can you promote Eloise, please? Hi,
Greetings.
Eloise.
Greetings. I left a paper copy. They did drop off the map last week.
They did?
In the CD-ROM, and I believe James uploaded that to tonight's meeting,
Really?
as well as,
On my town government?
Eloise, where was the paper copy? Was it in the mailbox? Mail slot?
yes,
Really?
yes.
I can show my screen and you can look at it. But I
It's
think
in
they
my
want
town
to
government?
attend.
I'm looking right now on my town government. Maybe. Maybe I'm
Or just
looking.
email to you and you'd have the whole set of documents.
So let's
You-
see, 5 Gates Pond Road. A&R, but that was May 30th.
October 19th.
Yeah. Don't see anything. From October.
Want me to forward it to you guys?
You've got it?
Yeah. Came in the email.
Oh, in the email.
Yeah.
Forward the email to you. I should probably check this before the meeting.
Yeah, but I mean, it,
There-
let me ask James if he posted something.
Is it a PDF, Jay?
Yeah, 3 pages.
Did you send it yet?
No, I gotta download it and then I'll send it.
Okay. You should be able to forward that email to all of us.
Well, it's from Gmail, so I don't have everybody's address in Gmail, unfortunately.
Oh, I see.
I should probably fix that.
It's not, it wasn't loaded.
Well, I'll put it up there when I
Jay's
do
got
the
it.
minutes. I always put that stuff up when I do the minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. One page. Page. Third page.
Is the Hudson Business Association the proponent? Do you see that as a participant?
I do. I see them as a participant, but I don't,
I was trying to think who else might be.
Oh, they
There
just
goes a
raised their
hand.
hand. Tom, you want me to allow them to talk?
Is this for the same subject or something different?
Not sure.
I'm trying to figure, I think it may, I mean, it's Hudson. It seems like might be related to the Gates Pond lot.
Funny,
Okay.
on Form A, it doesn't list the proponent. Oh, yeah, it is. It's Ada Realty Trust, ADDA.
Oh. Oh,
Tomorrow.
so that's gonna be the Route 62 end of Gates Pond Road, because
Yeah.
so the farm is at a farm. And I know they own a bunch of land going up between Gates Pond Road and 495. And I know
Well, it's the
we did
same-
some
it's the same
lot
property
divisions.
we talked about a month ago or so. There was a lot line change.
So it's gotta be
I
in
s-
that,
You should get an email from me. I sent it.
okay.
Are they muted, Hudson?
Yes,
Hey, yep, can you hear me now?
yep,
Yep. Yeah, so I just want to clarify, I'm here for the Indian Farm Estates piece, but I didn't want there to be any confusion, so.
Okay.
Just raise my hand for a quick second.
okay, I'm gonna put you back in the audience for right now.
Not a problem.
So I have another email regarding the Indian Farm Estates, actually 2 emails. Did you get something in writing from them also? Tom?
We just, for Indian Farm Estates, I got something that was forwarded, a PDF that was forwarded tonight from the Hudson Planning Board.
Okay, it's a letter, right?
Yes.
Did everybody get that, or should I send that around too?
It came to me through, I got it forwarded from Margaret,
I can send that around.
and I think it went to me, Timmy, and Timmy and the planning board.
Right,
Came
I
this
did not
afternoon.
get that.
So I'll send it to Carolyn.
Okay. And the email that you just sent, I can't open the drawing.
Oh, okay. But you should be able to open there's two PDFs,
The
right?
PDFs, yeah,
The other one came as a drawing file, so I don't know what software you need to open it.
right. Oh, but one of the PDFs is actually a plot plan.
Yeah. There comes the other one.
One's a
There's a-
DWG, okay,
And there's the third email is about the Ken Casa
yeah.
proposal. And there's an invitation to the farewell reception for Chief Galvin, but we missed it. It was at 5 o'clock today.
That was a couple hours ago.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the plan right now.
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Yeah,
Where are they adjusting the line?
Don't know. I mean, maybe it says that in the third file.
The third file is a DWG, which is an AutoCAD file.
Right. I don't know if I can
Right.
open that in Visio. Let me just see.
Maybe
Yeah.
you might be able to, but I don't think it
Yeah.
would say it. It would be just a copy of this PDF, I would think.
right. So
Oh, maybe.
does Form A say?
No, the Form A does not.
So they're gonna need to do more than just send the stuff in. They're gonna
Right.
need to come and
Right.
let us know what's going on.
Yeah, it's hard to see from this plan what's being proposed, isn't it?
It says the undersigned wishes to record the accompanying plan and request a determination by said board that the approval under subdivision control law is not required. The undersigned believes that such approval is not required for the following reasons. And then it talks about all the lots have frontage on Gates Pond, which qualifies for frontage under the subdivision control law, but that's it. And then they have engineer's name, Liston Associates, and then the owner of the book and page and all of that. But they don't really show what they changed, because we approved this once before.
Well, we
Yep.
could go back to the previous drawings and look at the difference, I guess.
Yeah, okay, we
Minutes.
shouldn't be doing that. The proponent should be doing that.
Yeah.
Because if we make a mistake, then we own it.
Yeah, I agree. It's hard to determine what's going on here.
Especially because if you look at lot 2, lot 2 has a little corner of commercial in the commercial zone.
But we don't care about zones. We just care.
No,
caring
I know,
about
but
lots.
right, but just trying to figure out what they're doing here. So it's, lot
I mean, lot four's got 200 feet, lot three's got the appropriate frontage. They've all got enough frontage. They've all got enough acreage. And I'm assuming that that rear lot is,
Right, the rear lot is landlocked, true?
It goes around up top.
oh yeah, 206 feet of frontage and 25 acres remaining. Is that what it said?
12, yeah, 1206.
Oh yeah, 1206.
Wait, is that 1206 on Gates Pond or is that on Fosgate?
Oh, that's a good point.
See, we need a little more information than this, I think.
Yep, I agree. Plus, if we're going to sign something, we need paper copies anyway,
Well, supposedly they're in our mailbox.
and the Mylar and everything, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Good.
So if we're gonna not do anything with this, take any action on this, then I'm willing to talk to, I think that's it on the agenda. I don't think we had anything else pressing other than timely items. So we can take up timely items now. There was, let's listen to the people from Hudson that wanted to speak to us on.
Indian
Okay.
Farm.
Yeah,
Indian
that was
Farm.
that other email that Jay sent.
Yes.
So. All right, so Tom, they should be all set.
Yeah, I think I got it now. There we go.
Okay.
One of these days I'll figure out how to change the title. So as you guys know, I had to do a subdivision approval in both Hudson and Berlin due to the small portion of land in Berlin. So the 2 years had come up, so we got the extension with the town of Hudson. So presumably I would get an extension with you as well. That's why I forwarded that PDF. That's the extension letter to extend the subdivision for 1 year for the completion date.
So the town of Hudson gave us a subdivision letter, actually a letter. It says that they, at their regular meeting of their October 19th, they agreed to extend it. They voted 3 in favor, 0 opposed to extend it. 2 were not in attendance. And it was sent to CC to Jeff Wood, building commissioner, and issued to Joan Wardell, town clerk. So you're asking the planning board of Berlin to do the same?
Yes, yeah, I'd be looking to get at least a 1 year extension. Then we can revisit it again in a year or so, if need be.
So
I
I'll move
can't
that we-
imagine that the real estate market is so soft that you couldn't get this accomplished.
Within the next year, it was more so.
Right now.
Oh, I know.
Good
Oh, believe me,
Lord.
now there's not much holding it up. Obviously, when COVID hit, there was a little bit of a supply chain issue, which kind of held things up. But no, things are moving right along now. Foundations are getting started for, the remaining homes, and everything's well on its way.
All right, so the likelihood that
move-
you'll be after us after a year to come back and ask us for another extension is pretty remote.
I would say so, but I wouldn't want to shut the door on anything just in case. Who knows? What if they decide to shut everything down again in 6 months?
How many more houses do you have left to complete?
At this point, there's still like 16 from now to be actually completed. But 5 of them just got underway. Another 4 to 5 of them will be getting underway in the next couple of weeks. So things have been sourced and be able to expedite delivery times now. That became the big issue once COVID hit, was supply. Things that we had reserved just managed to go elsewhere, other clients at the time. So that became a major issue with delivery.
I'll move that we extend the subdivision approval on Indian Farms on River Road for an additional year effective tonight.
Okay.
Second,
Okay, I have a motion and a second to extend for 1 year the subdivision on River Road for the proponent. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will ask us to vote. Carolyn McDonald,
aye.
Timothy Wheeler,
Aye.
Jay Teach,
I,
and Tom Sanford, aye. Motion carries unanimously. All right, so we'll need to craft a letter to Margaret or to the, actually probably the building commissioner, right? Building inspector. Wonder if we can
Yeah,
do
and
it
I
by email.
suppose it should go to Hudson as well, probably,
Yeah.
right?
Hudson building inspector or town clerk?
Well, if the building inspector has got a notice that Hudson approved it, I suppose it makes sense to send it to him.
Yeah, so their previous letter had gone from the planning board just to the town clerk. And then they
Oh,
dropped
okay.
the commissioner on it. So
We never got a written letter. Maybe the building inspector did, but we didn't. So,
Okay.
wonder if we can accomplish it with an email to the building inspector.
Yeah, try that.
All right, that's it. I'll send him an email tomorrow.
okay, and if it'd be possible, if I could get copied on it, or Margaret has all my information as well.
I do too, so I'll CC you.
Perfect, that'd be wonderful.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
All right, have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Yeah.
I-
Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak?
So Steve and Julie Benincasa are here.
Okay.
Steve has his hand raised.
Can you promote him,
Yep.
please? Thank you.
Can everyone hear me?
Steve, yep,
Okay, Steve Benincasa, I'm building up at Highland Ridge, and I had been in a few meetings ago and spoke about the possibility of doing off-site affordable housing, and we had some discussion. I gave you a little bit of literature, and there was some interest in it. I won't say that it was, all positive, all negative. There was some interest. We had some conversations about it. And then you gave me some direction to see what the housing committee and town manager's position was. I stopped in there a few times. I was in there again today and inquired a little bit about it, and they directed that they thought this was a planning board issue. I also received your correspondence in which you said that because the subdivision was approval from town meeting vote, that any modifications would have to be done through a town meeting. Recognize that this town meeting here now, obviously I'm not thinking in my wildest dreams that I'd be on this next town meeting, but so the purpose of this call is to say that, let me back up one more time. there was some talk about possibility of having half the houses in there as affordable and maybe half out. There was just conversation. I know it was a lot of conversations. And so I guess that seemed to have the most support. So I guess I look at it as it's a win for the developer, is that there are less affordables in the development. So those units are being priced at market price, and they are paying full condominium fees. Whoever, so let's say we did 5 out and 1 group home out. The advantage to the town is the town would be taxed as a full rate also. So because it's a market rate, the town would get full tax valuation for that. Also, in the group home, the town would get the same credit. So you would still get the 10 credits. So I looked at it as a win-win, and I thought it was a good idea. And I realized it has to go to town meeting. So the purpose of this, me getting on here tonight, is to say, if I have unanimous support in the town of the planning board and/or town manager and/or the housing committee, then I will move forward with town meeting. If I don't have your full support, then I'm just going to build it as the plan was approved. I will put the 10 affordables in the development. Also, I have started the process with phasing in through the regulatory agreement the affordable housing units, however number that is, whether it's 5 or whether it's the 10 that was originally approved. I'm prepared to do it either way. I thought it was a win-win for both parties. If you don't see the value in the town and you don't think it's a value to the town to do that, then you shouldn't vote for it, and then I'll just put the 10 units in the development. I thought it was a win-win. I would appreciate your feedback.
I guess I don't know what to do with this. I mean, we gave feedback. We've talked to council and others, and they've, indicated that they thought that this would have to go back. This is, a change that would have to go back before town meeting, and you understand that, and I get that.
Yes.
And so I guess you're asking us to consider this and support it and push it forward to, prepared to go to Springtown meeting with this change. There's a lot of legwork that needs to be done in between. Public hearings and information has to be, at such a point where we can explain it to people that are going to be, stakeholders at the town meeting. So there's stuff that needs to be done. So to ask us to vote on an up or down, whether we support it at this point, I think is a little premature. But, I'm willing to listen to, I know we saw the initial plan that was proposed for the site that was on the corner of Old Central Street and 62, I believe, near the
Yeah,
Shiro.
and that may be viable, or that may have passed. I don't know, but in any event, it would be a site similar to that. It would be a site obviously in town. And this, what I'm asking you tonight is nothing official. It's just to know whether there is any support, and if there isn't, I'll just move on. I will not do anything unless I have your support. Unless you think it's in beneficial of the town and it's a good concept, I think it is. If you don't agree with me, then I'll accept that and I'll move on. I don't have, but I think it's, the reason why I'm back here again is because I do think it's a win-win. I think it's a win for the town also. And I don't know how much, I think you all understand what I explained to you about the fact that these credits would count towards housing. So the town gets the full credit on the housing credits. They get units that are taxed at full. There's a tax benefit to the town, and there's a benefit to the development themselves. So yes, I win, town wins. I think everyone wins.
thought there was a question about whether the units were going to qualify or not. I don't think it was unambiguous.
As far as I know, they would qualify, and if they don't qualify, then I wouldn't even present it. I wouldn't even present it. So that would have to be a prerequisite, correct? Like you said, Tom, there's a lot of work that has to be done, but
Right.
I don't want to go through all that work if I don't have your support. That's the bottom line. If I have your support, we'll go through the process and we'll have to vet out all those things, like you said, Jay, to verify that you will get the credits. I can provide documentation to all that, but if I don't have your support, then we'll move on. Move on.
Mr. Wheeler.
Eloise, I have a question for Eloise, and that's in regard to the group home that's on Larkin Road where we had 4 units that were counted, but recently the state had begun to count it as 2.
That is correct.
So that's a group home that's similar to what Steve is talking about, I think, in terms
I
of,
believe so.
yeah. And for a while, we had a hard time getting the state to recognize it. And then when they did, they recognized it finally as 4, which is what was they were accommodating 4 individuals. And then most recently on the SHI, they dropped it back to 2.
Correct.
Yeah.
You know why they did that, Tim?
No, and we've been fighting with them, trying to get the number back up to 4 because it's frustrating. And in Amy's letter to us, she indicated, and we questioned this the last time we met. We were expecting you at our last meeting, but when you weren't there, we talked about Amy's letter to us, and we weren't sure whether Amy fully understood the program, but in her last sentence, let me see if I can get it. In her last sentence, she said, in my opinion, it would be reasonable to classify it as a residential care facility. However, these types of group homes are usually permitted as an accommodation for individuals with disabilities under the Federal Fair Housing Act and classified as a single-family home. Now, to me, that indicated that she probably wasn't as familiar with the program you were talking about that's, monitored by DCS or whatever it is, so.
As far as I understand, and I'm doing the same exact process in Millbury. I'm providing a 7-bedroom transitional housing in lieu of affordable housing, and the town is getting the full credits, and
Right.
they vetted it through their town council. And so everything I say would have to be vetted before I would expect any support from the town, for sure.
So the way our bylaw reads, when you get to 30% of the units, which is probably, well, how many foundations do you got now?
We haven't sold any yet.
No, but how many foundations have you put in?
I'm not sure what the count is. I'm guessing it's about 8, maybe 6, 8.
When you get
We
to
designated-
20 foundations, you can build up to 20 units without any affordable. But when you jump from that number 20 into that next cluster, and when you get to 50%, which is going to be 33 units, so between 20 and 33 units, you've got to build 30% of the affordables, or 4, basically. And then so if you only thought that you were going to build and sell 20 units, between now and town meeting in May, you could certainly go to town meeting and see if the town would be willing to support it. I've said in the past that the reason we wrote the inclusionary zoning bylaw was to put the affordable units in the project. And I still haven't heard a good argument, other than the fact it doesn't make the developer as much money. I haven't heard a good argument as to why the town shouldn't stick by that.
The town's gonna recognize it. Full taxes on these homes forever, for the life of the home, which is, I don't know how many years, you want to call that 50 years, we're gonna call 100 years, I don't know, and you could do the math, and it would be an enormous number, but, you know, I don't need to go there, but, and you would get the credits. So if you view that, you know, the downside is, I guess there's 5 families, although they're not really families, they're 2 people, that wouldn't benefit, but the other side of it is you would have 5 people with disabilities that would benefit. So there are benefits, the pros and cons, just like every other thing.
Right.
So if the tax amount is it, are you saying that the value of the group home is going to be 5 times the value of the
No,
townhomes?
I'm saying that the value of the townhomes would be higher.
No, but 5 times. So you're building one group home instead of 5 individual units. So is the value of the one group home going to be more than the value of the 5? I understand how you're saying we're going to get more tax dollars for one building instead of 5.
If I sell a unit and the affordable, it's, I don't know, what is it, 220, 230? It's in the lower 200 numbers. And that would be the tax revenue to the town. If I sell that unit for 500,000, then the town taxes that unit at 500,000. So you'd get double the tax revenue from that property. Yes.
But 5, I'm confused. So 5 affordable units, even at 250, out, that's $1.25 million. And you're saying that the group home is going to be worth more than $1.25 million?
No, I didn't talk about the group home. I said that the 5 units themselves, the town would be recognized at higher value. The group home itself is worth more than $1 million too, but it depends on who the owner. The group home would be owned by a nonprofit or a profit. It's either a profit agency and then it's leased out to a nonprofit, or it's a nonprofit. And
we get tax revenue on nonprofits?
Right, I was just gonna ask that. What's the
What was the
tax
question?
status? What's the tax status on a nonprofit group home? Do they pay property tax?
it depends on how it's owned and then how it's leased. So they're all.
How
leased
would
out
it be
to-
owned and how would it be leased?
It would be leased out as a nonprofit, as a 501c. And I'm not totally versed in this, so I can't necessarily answer all
So
your
there
questions.
may be a net gain and there may not be.
Well, there may be a loss because it may be 0.
Right.
So I thought that the nonprofits were not subject to real estate tax. Is that
They're
true?
not. Yes.
Oh, so there's a pretty good chance that we'll get 0 tax.
Well, I think what Steve is saying, though, is that the 10 units come in at full value, market value, rather than the reduced value as an affordable unit. And as such, the town gains more tax revenue from the 10 as market rate units than they would as affordable units. And then regardless of what you do, if you substitute the group home.
Oh,
you
I
don't
see what you're saying.
money
The
from
other
those,
ones. Okay.
you still end up ahead. So, you know,
Yeah.
the argument is the developer ends up with more and the town ends up with more as well.
I think that's an accurate statement. That's the way I believe.
And that the group home is off the table in terms of how we look at the tax situation. It just means the group home allows the 10 units in the complex to be taxed at their market rate rather than at their
Right.
affordable rate.
And again, there was some talk about having 5 units in the development and then 5 outside. It seemed to have more support, although I don't know how much support it's going to get. So I guess that's where I'm inquiring to, if you think it's a good idea, we'll continue the dialogue. We'll get you answer more questions. I'll bring in more people that are more versed on it. and we can go through the process. If I don't have support, then I'm not gonna waste your time. I won't waste your time.
Tom, we do have another hand up in the audience from Julie Benincasa.
1 second, does Eloise have a question? Her hand is up.
It might still be up from before. Eloise? Oh, there you go.
Withdrew her hand.
That answers that.
Okay, can you promote the
I
other
can.
person? Julie?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Hello?
Hi, Julie Benincasa. I wanted to comment about how many foundations we have in and also how we were planning for the affordable units. I'd been working with MCO, which is an affordable marketing company, and we had already made suggested locations for the affordable units for the 10 and also for the 5. So Tim, your comments about where the locations were and how many foundations we had in. We have 8 in now. We have affordables in 9th, 10th, and 14th. So there's no problem that if we have to wait, there's plenty of time to go to spring meeting if we get to that point. So we'll still meet the town requirements.
Okay, good, thank you.
Good. Good.
So again, I think it's a win-win for the town if you don't view it that way, if you have other thoughts on it. I mean, there's all different ways of looking at this, and if you look at it differently and you don't think it's be something that the town is in the town's interest, then we're prepared to do the 10 affordables inside.
I mean, I think there's some merit to it because you're going to have a different mix. I know we have one group home now, but will give us some more diversification. So I don't see it as a negative.
I'd
Yeah,
like to be able to talk to someone that's got experience with other ones of these.
Get
Well,
some
they do
experience.
exist.
It's hard to predict
I know it is.
how things like this are going to turn out. Sometimes you're surprised one way or the other.
Well, they do exist in other areas. We have one in town. But they're not. It's not something that's advertised. It's something that they're supposed to be blend in, and you're not really supposed to even notice where they are, so that they're not subject to any kind of I don't know what the word is, anything negative on them. So they do exist. The problem is that a lot of them that exist are run down, and so there's a huge waiting list. Number one is there's a waiting list for them. Number two is a lot of them, they have a living at substandard conditions. I know that we've built a number of these already in other towns, and when they see a brand new structure like this, it's, you know, rather than some of these old rundowns, it's very positive. It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
So there must be people in town government in those towns that have followed the whole process and could tell us how it went and what the outcome was, and right?
Well, the whole affordable thing, so we're talking about, you're getting affordable credits. This is something that, you know, most of the towns are just starting out with this now. I mean, you put your inclusionary zoning in, and it's something that's gaining a lot of speed, a lot of momentum over the last few years. I mean, previous developments, we have not done inclusionary housing. I shouldn't say none of them, but it's new for us as builders. This has probably been over the last 5 years. If I go back 10 years, we weren't doing any affordables, and I didn't know anybody that even did any affordables 10 years ago. So this is all fairly new.
Well, that's you, but you're not the only ones that have done the group housing
No, I'm
thing.
not talking about group housing. I'm just talking about building in general, working the credits. So if you're talking about just group housing, I'm not sure what your question is regarding group housing. I'm not sure where you're asking.
No, I just wonder whether we could talk to another town that has, supported construction of something similar to this and find out how it turned out.
Right, get us the contact information for another town that does have a group home so we can find out what their experience has been.
Right. I mean, this is not going to be the first one ever made, right, Steve? There's got to be a lot of them have already been done.
So they're all done a little differently. There's I don't know how many agencies. There's a lot of agencies. There's a lot of housing. There's a lot of people with different disabilities. This is a fairly new concept because of the fact that what I'm talking about that's fairly new is the fact that inclusionary zoning. I mean, how many units in your town have been built with the inclusionary zoning? I know you have the 40B over by River Run, but other than that, you have an inclusionary zoning that after 5 units, I think it is, you need to build an affordable, and that process has not been, I don't know, either it's fairly new or it's not been very successful for whatever reason. That's just how it is.
But that's
Yeah,
not
it's
what
an
Jay's
example of-
asking.
That's an example of something we did that
Doesn't work.
we had an outcome that was different than what we expected.
Yeah.
Right.
You had good intentions,
I mean, I feel kind of uncomfortable proposing this at town meeting without being able to say, yeah, we looked at a number of other homes like this in other towns and talked to the, particularly the planning board or housing group, and they were successful. They didn't create a lot of problems, didn't have a hard time getting them occupied, didn't have problems with,
Having
whatever
unique
else might go wrong that we don't imagine.
Well, I can bring in experts that can tell you that there's literally hundreds and hundreds of people. I've heard the number 600 at one point. I'm not sure if that's an accurate number that are on a waiting list waiting for these homes.
Well, we don't want to talk about ones being built. We want to talk about ones that are finished and have been occupied for a while. So we get to the end of the
Well, this
process,
scans all around the
get some
state.
feedback.
You can't get the locations of those all around the state because they're specifically, you're not supposed to know where they all are, and so that they can't be discriminated from. That's the word I was looking for.
We don't have to know where they are. We can talk to an agency that's built a bunch of them and they can be anonymous.
I can bring in someone from the agency that Sean Knessel that was here on your last Zoom meeting. He works in one of those agencies, and he's a lot more versed on this than I am. So he can speak much more intelligently about this than I can. My purpose is there an interest, and should we pursue it, or should we drop it and just do the 10 affordables in there? I think it's a win-win. If you don't see it that way, again, we'll do the 10 affordables inside. I think it's a win-win. If you don't see it that way, we'll move on. I'm going to be doing the same thing in Bellingham. I got a project coming up down there. We're going to be doing off-site units down there. We haven't done it yet, but it's actually in their bylaws. So I don't have to go to any special town meeting. It's already in there. It'll be part of the process. Now, the subdivision isn't approved yet, but it's going to be approved probably in the next month or two, and we'll be building it this spring, and we'll be doing those units similar to this. It'll be a year away, but that's included in their subdivision rules and regulations. So that's total. Every town's a little different. I don't see any town is exactly the same here. In Millbury, we're doing units over there. We were originally going to do a group home that was about 2 miles outside the center, and then town council came in and said, our unit was in the downtown area, so then we had to do a unit that was within half a mile of the downtown area. It was, again, totally different. So we had to pivot and change the location of the unit and change the style of the unit. So again, I was gonna use that example, but now that's totally different because now that's in a downtown area. So totally different from what I would propose in Berlin. So you can't compare it. It's similar, but different. Different. I don't know of any, Jay, I don't know of any examples that you could say we did one exactly like I'm proposing in Berlin, and here's how it turned out, and here's how it went item for item. I don't have an example of that. I have examples of affordable housing. I have examples of group homes, but not one that would fit exactly according to the scenario I'm proposing. And what I'm proposing would have to be vetted by town council, to make sure that it is everything I'm saying it is. I'm not selling you something that's not going to be true, because if it is, you pull the plug on me and it's done. It's done. So if it's not legitimate, I would not propose it and you would not approve it. Bottom line. So nothing here tonight is going to be a formal vote. All it's going to be is just, let's pursue it. And it seems like a good idea. Let's pursue it and see if it works. Or we don't like the idea. Let's not do this. Just do what was originally approved. That's what I'm looking for tonight. And I can't seem to get much answer from your other departments. They feel that it's a planning board call, and then eventually it'll be town meeting. But I know that I will not go to town meeting unless I get your board support. I will not do it.
I think the other departments are expecting us to do some homework and try to figure out whether this is a good idea or not. And I'm just trying to figure out how we would do that. If you don't feel that there's a way to do it because of the reasons that you just said, then maybe we need to try to find a consultant or someone through CPMRC, or I don't know, some person or persons that could give us, kind of a summary of what they've seen and how well these work and what problems, what issues we need to be aware of when we're getting into it and what we got to watch out for and how we can make it successful.
Not necessarily someone in the industry.
Yeah, I think we'd be more comfortable with someone
In town government.
Government that was, had been through the whole thing, or at least got to see the outcome,
Well, the group home concept, it's not a new concept by any, there's,
Yeah.
As far as what I understand is these people were all, people with the disabilities were all housed in large institutions, Worcester State Hospital, Framingham State Hospital, Westboro State Hospital, Grafton State Hospital. And these hospitals were built 100 years ago, and now these hospitals have all run their course, and a lot of them have been torn down. And so now people with disabilities are being integrated in communities. And again, I can't speak that well about this subject. It's not my thing. I'm a developer. I don't profess to be an expert in group homes. But I've been involved in a little bit of it, and I know a little bit, just enough to be dangerous, just enough to carry this conversation. But
well, maybe what we learn will be helpful to you too.
it can always.
Since you're making a big investment in it, right? I mean, you don't want to make an investment, make a mistake.
Is it a good idea? I'm sorry.
So, I'm certainly not opposed to the concept of a group home. I mean, we have an inclusionary bylaw. As you said, every town's different and every town's priorities are different. And we have stated in our bylaws that our priority is for more mixed housing. This doesn't necessarily mean that the group home is a bad idea or a good idea. It just means that we have stated as a priority that we want some more reasonably priced units when we have new developments. And that is, on record. of the priority for our town. So, you know, if waiting till Springtown meeting is not going to change your building schedule one way or another, and you still want to pursue this, I don't think there would be any of us that would be opposed to hearing the reason why. But I agree with Tim. I've not yet heard a reason why we should change the priorities that we've already decided decided on, that are things that are important for us here in town. So I think it's up to you to decide if you can convince us by Springtown meeting.
If I can't convince you with this meeting tonight, then I don't believe I'm going to convince you.
But you're not really giving us any information. You're giving us just some ideas. And none of us are opposed necessarily to the ideas, but we don't have any facts to base an opinion on.
I gave you the concept, and you know, it all.
And the concept is just that. It's not
good
fact.
It's not fact.
Correct. And we can't make a decision. At least I know I'm not comfortable making a decision as to whether to support or not support based on just an idea without facts to support whether it would be a good decision for our town. Because what you're asking us to do is to overrule our previously stated priorities.
I'm asking you to modify it.
Correct. And we need a good reason to do that. And what I'm saying is that I've not heard a good reason yet.
Okay, so the fact that you're going to earn more tax revenue, the fact that we're going to provide housing for people with disabilities, that's not a good
No,
enough
but you're
reason?
also going to take away housing for moderate
Absolutely,
income
yeah.
families, you know,
That's
so
correct.
which is what we've stated as our priority in this town. Now,
So
I don't
here's
have
the
a
fact.
problem with the group homes. I don't have a problem with, I think providing housing for people with disabilities is a wonderful idea. And if you wanted to come to us with that as a separate project, that would be fabulous. But you've not given me personally a reason to swap one out for another, other than dollars. And I don't
respect
think
that
the
decision.
dollars are enough to overrule our previously stated priorities.
There is a financial benefit to the town, and there is it is swapping out homes for people, housing for people with disabilities versus housing for families. So those the swap right there.
Yep.
You're going to get
And
the town would get,
housing for families is something that is becoming harder and harder in Berlin.
yeah.
You talk to anybody, you know, you go down to the general store on a Saturday morning and that is what they will tell you. That is the town's priority.
They don't talk about the people with disabilities, but they're out there.
Correct. And again, it's a very wonderful cause. And if you want to bring that as another project, that's great.
So you don't
Happy to support it.
Okay. I can respect that. So you don't support this thing.
Not with the amount of information I have currently, correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Tom, Julie does have her hand up again.
And we hear from Julie, please.
Julie,
Hi.
go ahead.
In terms of the construction schedule and how it's going to affect the development, we do have customers that will be soon Berlin residents, and there is interest in the units that have been set aside for possible affordable units. So we wanted to know what direction we were going to go in to see what we could offer to these future residents. I know there's been a lot of talk about money and the benefit is only the tax revenue. It's not only the tax revenue from the market rate units. It's also, like my father had said, these group homes with people with disabilities having somewhere to stay. But again, we just want to know what direction to move forward in. We are submitting applications to DHCD, and just want to get a feel for if this is something that we should be investing in and moving forward with, or if this is something that's too confusing and there's not enough information, and we don't want to spend months and months on this, because going through the process, we're already told is going to be 6 months. So we need to know what's available and what's not. Also, in order to plan for the affordable units to be spread out through the community. And if that number goes down to 5 or a different number, we need to make sure that's spaced accordingly. That's it.
So I think I know where Carolyn stands. So I hear you loud and clear, and I respect your decision. And
Thank
the
you.
rest of the board.
So if we don't all vote to support this tonight, Steve, does that mean you don't want us to do any more work on it? Or do you want us
Right.
to
That's exactly.
do
yes.
some research and see whether it's something that maybe we want to, as Callan said, change our goals a little bit and try to use your
Well, yeah.
project as a way to do something different?
Well, this isn't the first time I came to talk about it. So, we did have a conversation, 1 or 2 meetings. I don't recall. It's a little bit of a crazy world out there. I lose track of what meetings I go to, which I don't do. So I know this is not the first time we talked about it. If I
Well,
don't
I mean,
have,
we did do some work. I mean, we
I know
talked
you did.
to our
You did,
attorney and
yes.
select board and whatever, so.
and I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. So now I know that it has to go to town meeting, which is quite a bit of an obstacle in itself. But again, if I have the full support of the board, then I have a chance. If I don't have full support, I'm not going to even attempt it. It's going to be over tonight, basically. If you don't think it's a good idea, I'm dropping it tonight. So that's it. Everything I say is the truth, but you need to verify everything, because again, I'm not the expert. But if it's not everything I say it is, then you turn it down. If it's not everything I say it is, then you don't support it. So it's not a formal vote tonight. It's just an indication of whether you think it's a good idea that I should pursue it. Bring in more people, or I don't know how, if you formulate a list of questions that I send out to, or you send out to some industry experts other than myself, that may be something you might want to do. But again, Carolyn's position is that she would prefer to have more families rather than housing for. They're both worthy causes. I don't mean to downgrade that at all. So it's just different. Just different. Yeah. Again, I view it as a win-win, and there are other towns that have used it as a win-win also. You get the full credits, you get higher taxation rates. If you think that you should have more families rather than housing for disabilities, then you go with Carolyn's view on it, and it's fine. We all have different opinions. And what we think is right today, next year you might think is different too. That's, things change. I just read on the news today, China now wants every family to have 3 kids. They don't have enough kids for the aging population. Yeah, but 30 years ago, one child, and all the Chinese girls were being adopted by American families. So what happens when you try to social engineer through government? Again, I think it's a good idea. If you don't think it's a good idea, we'll move on. We're prepared to go either way. It's the market's good, sales are good. The project, I think the project looks good. I'm very proud of all the projects we build. We do a nice entrance. We do a lot of landscaping. It will be an asset to your community either way, either way.
Yeah, I really don't have an awful lot to add. Like I said, the concern with what happens with the group home we've already got and the way the state has played games with the numbers in terms of the recognition of the affordable units concerns me. And I don't want us to walk on some trap door and end up in a situation where we're getting numbers that we actually don't have. And where it's a new program, is the state even sure how it recognizes these? That's the question, I guess. I think there's certainly merit in group homes, and we've got one, and having another is fine. But this whole issue of the need of those families, particularly, where the nice thing about the apartment complex at Riverbridge was it certainly created a lot of affordable units. The problem with it is it's it's 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. It's not really family housing. So we cheated the system the way any municipality east of us does, with all their apartment buildings. So we're at 16%, but I think now we have an obligation to try to create some true affordable housing for families, and include them in a project like this is certainly one avenue. I don't think, we're not going to see big 40B units again in town for some time, given the fact that we're at 14%, or probably with this new census, we're probably at 14, I think now. So the opportunity to build family housing that's affordable is limited in our future. And maybe that means we need to take advantage of this opportunity and capitalize on it.
We have the same problem the Chinese have, right? We have a rapidly aging demographic.
Yep, we'll be in the same boat pretty soon. We'll be
Maybe we
paying
need to mandate to move to town, you have to have at least 3 children.
right? Keep the schools viable in order to, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that fixes the problem pretty quick.
No, there's truth to that.
The problem that I see with this situation is that, we, DHCD, I think it was 2 years ago, it might have been 4 years ago, but anyway, they mandated that they didn't give credit for affordable housing within an over 55 age restricted community. I forgot what some of that was. And so that kind of threw the thing out of whack there. But we built a development in Bellingham a couple of years ago, 36 units, townhouse style developments, and we got 0 kids out of it. Why is that? It's because these type of developments, the dense open space developments, are not attractive to families. They're more attractive to people that are in our age bracket, and that's why they're in over 55 developments, that the empty nesters. That's who's attracted to these. So my guess, and I could be wrong, that out of the 10 families we're going to get up there, that we're going to have 0 kids up there. That's my best guess. And that's not because anything we're doing or the town's doing. That's just the demand. That's just the demand. I bet we would get 0 children, and and I know this from experience of my other developments. You know, the one I completed 36 units in Bellingham, it was not age restricted. It was not something that appealed to families. They prefer to have more space. Those kids are noisy. They're noisy. So that's just what I find. So while the concept sounds good that we're going to be having families up in that area, I really don't think it's going to happen because of the style of housing that it is, you know, the open space developments. I personally love them. I live in one and I love it. And a lot of people, the sales are good. People, empty nested people enjoy that lifestyle very much. They enjoy it very much. It's low maintenance, it's easy, you know, they get to go to Florida in the wintertime and they get a little more time on their hands, you know. When I had the big house with the yard, and when the leaves came down this time of year, I had so many leaves in my yard, it was like, oh my God, every weekend I'd be doing leaves. And then when the snow came, I had to deal with the snow. And when I didn't have to deal with that, I felt like it was a burden off me. And the same thing with the clients that move into these homes. They like the concept. So
And
again,
affordable units gives 10 opportunities for Berlin families to downsize to, though.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So,
Great. And Berlin families will get first option. I don't know how you say it. First.
right of first refusal.
They get preference. They get preferential. Yes, they do. They do that in the marketing. MCO does the marketing. They've done other developments for us. It's a whole big involved process that we've started that process already. So we're going to move forward with it. So that's pretty much it. Again, if I didn't think it was a good idea, I wouldn't be presenting it. So I do sincerely believe it's a good idea, and I believe it's a win-win, and would not propose it if it wasn't. I wouldn't get any support. So if you said yes tonight, then the next step would be we would come in, you'd give me a list of questions, we'd be talking to your counsel, we'd be talking to my counsel to vet everything that I said, to make sure you get the credits. And Tim, I agree, that's a problem, but couldn't that problem exist with anything? I mean, what if GAC, if they can take away your credits on an affordable house, they could take away your credits on the apartments and all of a sudden say, you know what, we're only going to count the 25% apartments. We're not going to count the other 75, right? They could do that tomorrow.
I think that the political weight of the municipalities east of us that have apartments that are having them qualify as affordable would come crashing down on the legislature if they tried to modify that. I mean, they'd be popping people out of there as fast as their heads could spin. Whereas the constituency that represents the group that you're talking about, unfortunately, is relatively small. And if they start playing games with those affordable group homes, it's not going to have the impact on those municipalities east of us. And they're not going to say to their legislatures, get your act in gear. So it's an unlikely scenario, the one that you're trying to compare. Which is unfortunate because it just means that a group that needs support is not getting necessarily or wouldn't get the support they need in the final analysis. What's good is that you're saying that the state is developing a program that is trying to create these dispersed group homes so people are integrated into the community. I think I don't know, maybe someone could make an argument to me that a small rural community without public transportation and without access to some of the amenities that make it worthwhile to live in a community like this, if you begin to have handicaps or disabilities, is problematic. And when you look at a larger community, when they can live in the center, you know, close to the library, close to stores and stuff like that, it probably makes more sense for a group home than living on Larkin Road in Berlin. But that's another debate, you know.
Well, they're all different levels of disabilities, and the people that I've saw with the disabilities never leave the yard. Very few of them even leave the house. Most of them are bedridden. We have to make special provisions that they, and don't quote me on this, but they have to be able to be evacuated out of the unit within, I think it's, 2.5 minutes or something. I think the number is, and there are special fire alarms and sprinkler systems that shut down all the mechanical systems, and they're another whole level from any sprinkler systems we've done in any other houses. So they're all just all different levels of disabilities and different types. So there's a need for them all, and these units do pass a strict. I mean, I can't just decide to put one anywhere. They have to be approved. So it goes through approval process before, that's the first thing we do is give them the address, the location. And they say if it works for them or it doesn't work for them. It's not a decision that we make. Not a decision.
So Steve, I have a question. If, let's say, you did get the support of the board and we went to town meeting, town meeting supported you, and you had a location in mind and that didn't get approved, what's plan B?
We've got another location.
And
we'd
what
get
if
another
there was
location.
not another location in town that was suitable?
Well, we have a location right now that is approved under purchase and sales. So we have a
In
piece
Berlin.
already. Yes, we do.
I see.
And we're told that there is a need for people in your community for housing. And that could be that, it could be your brother, it could be your son, it could be your sister, I don't know, a family relative. Every community obviously has them. It's not something that it's limited to any one community. So they all have the needs.
Julie has her hand up again.
Can you promote Julie, please? Thank you.
So this might be too direct, but I'm getting the impression the board is not in favor of or comfortable with. We would like to know how to move forward. Because obviously the process will take months to get to town meeting, and again, as we said, if we don't have support from the planning board, it doesn't really make sense for us to put any more time or into convincing.
I think we all understand that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the prudent thing to do is to proceed the way you've been going with the 10 units included in the project. I don't see us answering enough of these questions soon enough for you to get the assurance that you want, that's going to allow you to move forward at a reasonable pace in the whole project. It seems like the suggestion that if we support it, the town would, is risky. It doesn't always work that way. We've gone to town meeting with projects that we've fully endorsed and get blown out of the water. So it's not that simple,
Helps though.
No,
And as I said, I personally, there's just not enough answers right now for me to make a decision right now to change my mind.
I understand. If you don't see the
Especially,
benefits to the
especially
town-
if you need an answer tonight. I
Well, it's not
mean,
it's not a formal answer. It's not
well,
formal. It's
but you're looking for an answer.
direction. I'm looking for
And
guidance.
the answer is for
Yeah,
me,
guidance.
Yeah.
Guidance, which direction we should move forward in. We don't want to waste anybody's.
right,
Just your guidance, that's all. And it's not a vote. We recognize that your vote does not do anything formally. It's not a
Right.
formal vote.
well, I think Tim's advice is probably the most prudent then at this point.
Well, we're doing that anyways. That's already
Yeah.
in process. So we're doing that either way. Just a question of whether we consider any other options or we just do the plan without any changes. If you don't think it's a benefit to the town, then you shouldn't approve it.
The safest way for everybody, town and for you.
Yeah, well, we're doing it anyways, Tom.
Correct.
We've already got the 10 units. We've already hired the regulatory agency. We're already moving forward,
Then I
to do
think
it.
you got
because-
your answer.
Okay, very good. All right, I think we're good then. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I love it when somebody holds a gun to my head.
Right? I might have a nickel in this hand, or I might have a nickel in this hand. Who knows?
Anyways, whatever. So is there anybody else in the audience? Because I think that was everything that was timely items.
Nope, just Eloise, still here, hanging on with us.
Hello, Eloise. Does Eloise have anything for timely items?
She's not listening, apparently.
Apparently not.
Oh, there she
hand
is.
up.
No,
No?
Yeah,
Okay.
Eloise,
okay.
I mean, if anybody was going to encourage us to look at this really seriously, it would have to be the housing partnership. And my sense is that you guys haven't talked about this to the point where you'd feel comfortable advising us, right?
well, it's sort of like what Jay said. Explain the money, one piece of paper. This is what it would cost for, for 10 units. This part of the spreadsheet's half and half. And some of your affordable and or market rate units, they should be built because people are getting frailer.
Hmm.
And you could be your age or, a younger age and break a leg.
Yeah.
And you need to make sure your doorways are wide enough that you can, get in, maneuver your showers. But sometimes people have a preconceived idea of what it is, and we have really no teeth. And it's not because of age. So we asked them to build everything, both market rate and affordable, for aging in place.
Totally agree.
So
Yep.
that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, you're muted, Tim.
Thank you. Thank you, Eloise.
Musing. Okay. Anybody have anything else to chat about?
I'm still working on arranging a tour of Mosaic and Camelot.
Excellent.
I was away. I have not
was
even
it?
been,
How
Oh,
was it?
it was wonderful. It
Oh,
was,
that's too bad.
yeah, I know, right? Fortunately, it's not any place that I would want to live. But I can definitely see why Karen loves it. And, you know, she's got a great little community there. And if you like big, giant, wide open spaces of dry grass and juniper bushes, it's all yours. And scary mountain roads. That was the thing, like all the rest of it I could get used to if I had to. They got, I mean, there's this one road where she goes every day to work. And it's 20 minutes of around, up and around these mountain, you know, right on the side of the mountain. Sheer drop over here, no guardrails, one lane. The rule is if you're coming up and you encounter someone coming down, you're supposed to back down to the nearest wide spot. I don't think so. I had a hard enough time coming up. No way I'm backing down that thing.
You just need to get a motorcycle, solve that problem.
Yeah, yeah. And
Oh,
it
God.
just like I had to sit in the back. I had to bring reading material and just like stuff my face in a book while we were going up and down these roads. And I was fine once we were there, but no, thank you. But it was beautiful. We saw some cliff dwellings. We went to some natural hot springs. We did a bunch of different hikes. We actually ran into some 3 wild javelinas on one of our hikes. And Karen had her dog off leash because we're, you know, walking around out in the mountains in the middle of nowhere. And the javelinas were just kind of coming through, and the dog started barking, and the javelinas are like, hey, there's someone here. And the male started charging towards us, and the dog got in between us and the javelina. And I'm like, oh God, this could go bad really fast. Because they're, you know, they're very small wild boars with razor sharp tusks. And it did, you know, they turned around and scampered off, but that was our one exciting wildlife encounter.
Where was it you went?
New Mexico,
Oh,
the Gila National Wilderness.
that's right. Yeah, I love that
Yeah.
place.
Yep. So, and she's about 40 minutes from the Arizona border. And actually where we were hiking there, we kept crisscrossing Arizona, New Mexico on the hike. And there's an hour time difference between the two. There was a fair amount of time. I had no idea what time it was. But it didn't matter. We were on vacation, but we were also there for Glenn and Karen's grandmother's 90th birthday. And she lives with Karen out there. And she stayed up till 2:30 in the morning around the fire with us. So,
Good for her.
yep. So it was great. It was great. I'm glad to be back. It was really good to get some sun. You know, everyone's walking around in long sleeves and jeans because to them, you know, 74 degrees is chilly. And I'm like in my tank top and shorts, like I'm not going to get this sun till April. But and actually a friend, somebody she knows does, you should see the juniper trees. The alligator junipers, they twist around each other and make these amazing pieces of wood. And a friend of hers makes coffee tables and benches and stuff out of them.
Oh, real cool.
Yeah. And so he gave me a couple pieces, so I had to figure out how to get some juniper back. $90 later in postage.
Oh,
But one piece, it was 12 by 12 by 14.
Oh, wow.
Like this big solid chunk. So we cut it in half and put it in 2 separate boxes. And so I'm very excited to get that.
cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, but I haven't even been home for 24 hours yet, so.
Well, we appreciate your participating tonight.
Absolutely,
Not a problem.
absolutely. All
One
right,
thing you can
anybody else?
always count on from me is I will share my opinion.
That's fine. That's what we want. Anybody else have anything? No?
We got any, who we got for you got anything coming up at the next meeting?
That was one of the questions I wanted to ask. When do we want to, we usually have one meeting in December, one meeting in November.
Yeah,
And we sometimes move the meeting from the second Tuesday to the middle of the month, just to make it in the middle of the month, or, so right now, I think what's the next one, the 8th or the 9th? I think it's the 9th. 9th, okay, would be the next second Tuesday. Is that okay, or do we want to push it a week and have it more towards the middle?
I'm happy with the 9th, get it over with and then have a long stretch,
Okay,
Yeah, and that'll be the night after town meeting
right,
also. So,
okay,
Yeah.
then we'll post
The
it.
town meeting runs over.
What?
It
I don't,
won't.
there's not that many
No, it won't.
things on the warrant. There's what, like 7, I think, 7 or 8?
No, because we're 7, 8, and 8. We're 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11.
Okay. But then there's not, is there anything else after
Maybe
CBA?
1. There may be 12 altogether.
So December is going to be the 14th.
14th of December, yeah. Is that all right? You want to move that one earlier?
I'm not around the week before that.
Okay,
let's
yeah,
do
so
it.
we'll leave it to 14th.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll post that up for, the next available. There is one thing that I was contacted by an attorney who wanted to talk to me about the latest approval from the Attorney General on the articles that we had at the town meeting in the spring. And I wanted to know who they represented and what the agenda was and a list of the questions they were going to ask ahead of time. And I didn't get anything back. And I subsequently found out it was the attorney that represents Tremelli, and it had to do with the common driveway. And so it was just around questioning the, what was in place and what we as a planning board were going to allow as a grandfathered condition and not. So it never came back around. I haven't heard back from them. So I didn't do anything with that, but full disclosure, that was what was asked of me last week.
Good.
Okay.
So until that comes up, I mean, what is the grandfathering? What'd you say, condition?
Well, what was alluded to a little bit of, and this is hearsay because I did not get the question from the attorney, but I did get it from the Schultzes. They suspect that and I don't know whether this was something that they're in the middle of their suit, and I don't know whether the judge has ordered the removal of the speed traps, speed bumps, or the alignment, or the moving around, whatever. But what was going to cause them to be removed temporarily, and they wanted to be able to have the ability to put them back and not have the new regulation, which we said any substantive condition that's not in the original plan needs to come back before the board, and they just don't want to get into a trap.
Right, because they pull them up for plowing in the winter, I believe.
No. They left them down last year. That was part of the problem. And they couldn't plow, and they wound up creating a situation where it froze and then melted and froze, and they created like these big giant puddles behind the bumps, and the plow guy couldn't plow.
Huh.
So the other thing that had transpired was, and I did put them in touch with Scott from Haley and Ward. There was a action where they wanted to force them to disassociate themselves with the common driveway and force them to put a driveway through out the back to go onto the road that's behind them.
South Street.
Crosby.
No. Oh, yeah, yes, Crosby,
To
but it's all
Crosby.
wetlands there,
That's correct. That's
Yeah.
correct. So they
which
needed
is
an
what
ex-
caused this to be designed the way it was to begin with.
Correct. And so what they needed was an expert. And so I suggested that they talk to Scott. He came, wrote him a letter, and took care of that issue, but it didn't come back before the board, didn't come back before us, because there wasn't anything to come back to us about. They just needed expert testimony, and he reviewed it and wrote him a letter, and I guess it helped their cause, but that was the action that they were trying to take, was to force them to disassociate themselves with the common drive and put their driveway out the back.
The Schultzes.
The Schultzes, yes.
Yeah.
But like
And they
you said,
don't have
they're
any
all-
frontage on South Street,
No,
No,
right?
no. No. But they do have frontage on the other side, right?
Yeah, on Crosby,
On
but,
Carlton.
right, but it's all wet. There's
Oh,
a,
yeah,
right, there's actually a perennial stream over there.
correct,
Yeah,
correct.
perennial or intermittent. Does it dry up?
I
Um,
would think it, not this year, but in a lot of
In
years,
most years, yeah,
I think there's a high chance it might dry up a
right.
percentage of the time, yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
set of bridges and stuff with trails through there, so the bridges are all elevated.
Right.
So I would imagine that it gets wet at some points in time.
Oh, it definitely, I've seen it flowing more often than not,
Mhm,
but it doesn't mean it doesn't dry up either.
true.
Yeah.
True. But it would have been a big hurdle to have to come back before the Concom in order to get it through the wetlands,
Right.
the driveway.
Yep,
So-
that is true.
So anyways, it never came before us, and we didn't have to worry about it, and Scott, whatever he did, took care of the situation, so. But it's still ongoing, it hasn't been resolved.
Correct.
All right,
Cool.
that's all I have.
All right, well, I will let you know once I hear about a tour up at Mosaic and Camelot.
Okay. Okay. And I'll have to chase you down sometime this week for a signature.
Yep, yeah, I should be around Thursday and Friday and most of the weekend, so,
Okay. All right. Thursday or Friday works for me. I'll do it after work, if that's okay.
okay, yeah. I have, oh, Thursday night, we have coffee talk at 6:30.
I'll take it with me and we'll do it before then. Do it
Okay,
on my way home.
all right,
So that's the last signature I need on your A&R, Tim. And then it's all set.
Great, thanks. Thanks, everybody.
All
thank
right?
you.
I went hiking in the Gila Wilderness once when I got out of college,
Yeah,
and we climbed, I don't know, up and up and up and up. And then we looked back towards where we were with a harvest park, and there's like a forest fire going on.
Oh, God.
nice.
Blowing out, and we turned around and went all the way back down, and the fire was nowhere near us. It was great exercise, though. It was a lot of
Well,
fun.
there you go, yeah. Yeah, they've had quite a bit of fires out there. We
Mhm.
saw a lot of fire damage and,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
It's
And there was,
amazing. It's amazing when you travel around the United States, what variety there is. It's
oh, crazy. It's absolutely foreign, to anything that we have here,
yeah,
without a
cool.
doubt.
Great country.
Yep, indeed.
All right, I will take a vote for closing this meeting.
So moved.
Motion. Okay.
So moved.
second.
Second,
Okay, I got a motion and a second to close. Any discussion? Nope. Hearing none, I will ask you to vote. Carolyn McDonald,
Aye.
Timothy Wheeler,
aye.
Jay Teach,
Aye.
and Tom Sanford, aye. Motion to close the hearing, motion to close the meeting at 9:25. Thank you all.
1 minute later than last time.